Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, Send Ghana has called on the Ghana Health Service to, among other things, increase monitoring efforts at health facilities to ensure they are adhering to the code of ethics and to ensure an improvement in the delivery of healthcare delivery in the country. In a survey carried out in about 30 selected facilities, 30 districts within the Greater Accra region, Northern, Upper West and Upper East region, it was revealed that 31% of persons seeking healthcare were unsatisfied with healthcare delivery. Giving a presentation of the findings, the Senior Programs Officer for Send Ghana, Harriet Nyamajimai, noted that though majority were satisfied with the health service delivery from doctors and pharmacists, same couldn't be said for the nurses and workers at the records section. All right, she joins me in the studio. Let's have a very quick chat, which will pretty much be representative of what they said earlier today at the release of the report. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the health. It's like almost like an open secret that health service in this country is really not the best. But exactly what details did you find that gives you the impression, or that makes what perhaps most of us know even more alarming?
Okay, thank you very much. So with funding support from the Global Partnership for Social Accountability, the World Bank, we undertook a study to assess clients' satisfaction with health workers.
Okay.
You know, health workers' attitude and behavior during service provision.
Right.
And we undertook them in the districts, 30 districts in 4 regions of the country, as you mentioned. And we did the assessment so that we could know the category of staff that citizens are very happy with in terms of their attitude and those that they are unhappy with.
Okay.
So that we could make recommendations, specific recommendations that Ghana Health Service can take forward to address the situation. Overall, we had about 76% of citizens noting satisfaction.
Okay, well, that's good then.
Yes, that's good with the attitude and behavior of staff overall. But breaking it down per the categories, we realized that doctors scored highest for attitude and behavior in terms
so
of...
So actually, our doctors are being nice.
Are being nicer.
And
it's good in that sense, because then a client should have a very good relationship with the caregiver, so that they are able to give better services. So that's good in that sense. You could say same for those in the dispensary, the lab, but where we have the highest level of dissatisfaction is with workers in the record session, and then with our nurses and midwives. The record session highest because citizens have several opinions as to why they are not satisfied with their work. The highest being that
on the average,
the highest concern is that they attend to their acquaintances at the record session, and so that you will wait for very long hours, between 3 to 5 hours at the health facility to seek care. And people are not very enthused about that. They also charge unapproved fees, you know, at the record session, and then they are slow. In the opinion of citizens, they are slow in discharging their duties, and then they are also rude. And you could find similar issues raised concerning our nurses and midwives. For them, those who were not very happy said they were rude.
The midwife, and it will be very sad to encounter a midwife who's rude, because at that time where you want to give birth, it's a very painful moment. Even though I haven't gone through it before, we know that it's a very painful moment. So for you to encounter a rude and not so nice midwife, that's terrible. You're putting together a few of recommendations that you're expecting the Ghana Health Service to do. Usually, is it that you put it in the media and that's it, or do you give it to the relevant ministry and follow up and make sure that it's done? Because we know how to write very nicely in Ghana, but how to implement it is always an issue.
Working with the media is part of the dissemination strategy, but we do submit to the ministry, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Finance. In fact, they have been part of the process because they needed to validate some of the information we took from them, and so they aware of some of the findings already even before the launch. And once we have launched it and make it a public document, it means anybody can use it, anybody can take it up and narrow their search to specific areas and follow it up together with us. And so we are going to follow it up. We have already started dialoguing at the district level, because you know some districts were much more dissatisfied than others. So it is not same across the board.
Which districts are these? Do you have it offered?
The study showed that those in Greater Accra were more dissatisfied than those in the northern part of the country. So if you took areas such as AMA, Ablekuma South area, Ablekuma South is the Mamprobi, Dansuma area, thereabout. And then you have Adenta, Ada East, Wa West in the Upper West region.
In that order?
They were the most dissatisfied.
I see.
You know, and
but those in the northern region, etc., they are satisfied?
They are satisfied, but you know, there's another dimension to it. Those who are the most satisfied were those who
they are quite sophisticated, aren't they?
No, they fall between the ages of 30 and 39 years, and they have no formal education.
Okay.
And they find themselves in areas where sometimes they do not have options. So you have one facility, you do not have any option.
Right.
Whether you like the service or not, that is where you can can access health care. And so you don't have the option but to use it.
Okay.
You know. But they are okay with it. We try to find out if there's a relation between the number of health workers per facility and the level of satisfaction for the clients who patronize it. And realize that the relation is a bit weak, because even with facilities with few health professionals, one doctor, few nurses, clients tended to be more satisfied with those facilities.
I see.
Than facilities that have 3, 4, 5 doctors, lots of nurses. And so you realize that those in the cities were more dissatisfied.
Maybe it depends on the number of patients who come in at a time. But where do we go from here? Really, I bet that's the most important conversation.
That's why we made recommendations.
Right.
We know that we have policies and programs in the health sector that is expected to ensure that health workers fall within a certain line. They have their code of ethics. We have the patient's charter.
But you're making some recommendations.
Yes, who is enforcing that? We are asking that you enforce that.
I mean, for me, maybe you know, but for I don't know, and I'm sure majority of my viewers don't know either. So, what are the specific areas or targets that you are recommending for the health? Health service?
We are asking that they pay some attention to staff at the record session and nurses, so that they continually train them on customer care.
Okay.
So that they are able to offer better services to their clients. We are also asking for general awareness to be created for the populace, because they need to know their rights as per the patient's charter, so that they are able to use that to demand for better services. And then they also know their responsibilities. When you are sick and you get to the health care, you are also expected to do A, B, or C.
Okay.
And the charter is there, but most of us are not aware. Okay. And so we are calling on the Ghana Health Service to collaborate with civil society to mount that awareness across the country for citizens to know. We are asking for them to step up monitoring. When you monitor, especially in very remote and deprived areas, then you will know whether citizens are getting value for money in terms of health care. And then based on that, you can sanction. We are calling on them to begin to sanction, so that it becomes, it will deter others from putting up behaviors that are untoward. We are asking that the human resource strategic plan of the health sector that had been a draft since the 90s should be completed and enforced. Okay. It is when they are able to do all these things, then they can assure us of some quality services for our people, especially from the perspective of behavior and attitude.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. But I'm going to take a story that's very disturbing, a story that's very disheartening, and to some extent, extremely annoying. And let me find out from you briefly about that story. So this is about a 4-year-old girl. And I know Send Ghana is into development, but I believe that this is a part that deals with our development indirectly, as it may be. A 4-year-old girl who has been defiled, and we understand that the chief in the area and some traditional leaders have consulted a deity, and they are saying that the person who is being, so the suspect, the prime suspect, is innocent. How does that feel to you as people from Send Ghana? Does it feel to you like this is some sort of interference of the traditional authorities in the work of, this is a purely a criminal matter that the police should be allowed to deal with? And I'm asking that to you because you're a woman and because we're looking at a 4-year-old girl. It's a bit of an ambush, I admit, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yes, I'm passionate about those issues. For me, it is interference from the traditional authority. A child has been raped. We should allow the appropriate state institutions, in this case, actually. Yes, we should allow appropriate state institutions to do their work. They are to determine whether the prime suspect is innocent or guilty. It is not the responsibility of the traditional authority to do that. When we begin to go that direction, we erase all the evidence that we require to prosecute somebody who has made a mistake. And I think that the gender ministry should immediately come into this and take it up. We do not have to wait. We do not have to even call on Honorable Otiko to come and do this. She has to jump on board and take this matter up. All the other institutions, the DOFSU and other civil society organizations who are into this should come on board. It's a 4-year-old girl. It could be my daughter. Yeah. It could be your daughter, you know, and we shouldn't allow this to go. I think we have had far too many of these issues, and as a country, we should begin to tell ourselves that if you are a man and you cannot control yourself, you should be behind bars.
We should do something to you,
exactly.
Right? Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, for your thoughts. I've been speaking with Harriet Nyamajimai, Mrs. Harriet Nyamajimai. She is a programs director for Send Ghana. Now let's go to that story now. Mother of the 4-year-old girl who has been defiled by a member of the community of Asing Adadientem in the Central Region is calling for justice. Now the distressed mother of the little girl is also accusing the local chief of obstructing justice, as she alleges that the chief told her the action cannot be taken against the accused because the community gods say the suspect is innocent. Mother of the child, Monica Nyako, is also contesting the age of the accused, who she says is more than 16 years, as we're being told. JoyNews' Maxwell Agbaba has been speaking to the mother of the child in Asinfosu in the Central Region.
It is early morning here at the St. Francis Xavier Hospital at Asinfosu. Outside the compound, I've met Monica Nyako. Monica is the mother of the 4-year-old girl who was defiled. Monica is trying to get her daughter to walk, but she's unable to do so as she cries, a little girl in pain. The girl is unable to stand. She looks very pale with the bandage from the intravenous therapy still on her left hand. Monica Nyako tells me she had left home for a funeral in the community when the incident happened. She discovered what happened when she decided to bath her daughter.
I was bathing my daughter sometime around 7 p.m. Just when I was about to wash her private parts, she told me not to do it because she was feeling pains there. I asked her what happened, and she said one Kwabena had sex with her in a toilet facility. I asked her where her 8-year-old sister was before the incident happened. She told me Kwabena sent her sister to go and get him coconuts, and further warned my daughter not to respond when her sister calls, otherwise he will kill her with a stick. He carried her on his shoulder after the act and dropped my daughter behind our house. My daughter bled for about 3 days. I can show you the diapers we were forced to buy for her, and it is full of blood. She couldn't pass urine, but by God's grace, she has been able to do that now.
I'm currently stepping out of the St. Francis Xavier Hospital. The 4-year-old girl was hospitalized in this facility where we are told that she bled for many days. Her mother, Monica Nyakun, tells me that when the case was reported to the chief of the community, he says they've taken the issue to a deity. But the deity says the boy who has been accused of raping 4-year-old Jessica is actually innocent.
One of the local chiefs in the community says they took the boy to the village deity, and the gods said the accused person did not commit the acts.
I've now met Oscar Dazi. Oscar is a local journalist in Asimfusu. He tells me rape is very common in the municipality. He has been recounting some recent cases.
This incident is very rampant here. For instance, let's even forget the previous years and let us cast our mind from this year, beginning of this year till now. We visited a similar incident which occurred at a town called Asin, what they call it, Haiti, in which a teacher defied 3-year-old girl, and it even came to Asnakon for the police station. And within a week time, same incidents occurred at Asin Latte, near Asin Kushia in Oronchimai Parliamentary, in which a 7-month-old baby girl was defied by his own senior brother, who was 24 years. All the instances I'm giving occurred just this year. In this same year, Asin Atiamra, 13-year-old girl who was a student, was also defied by a man who was about 52 years, 13-year-old girl. Asin Aroso, which is also in Asin South, about 50-year-old girl was raped by his own stepfather in a bush in which they were going to tap a palm wine. When the incidents occur, most occasions some of the traditional leaders used to plan, sit down, try to settle it, in which some of them don't even come to the police station. Asin Fusu, that is the capital town of the municipality, just last 3 weeks, 14-year-old girl who was going to palm fufu on some local machine that we usually use in palming fufu to a certain guy who is about 32 years, called her, planning of giving something to her to give in to her mother, and accidentally forced her, raped her on a bare floor on a veranda. Same incidents occurred at Asin, what they call Yankumase, Asin Mansu rather, in which 13-year-old girl who was selling ice cream. That day there was a celebration of what do you call it, some occasion named Heritage Village Emancipation. Yes, when that lady was sent to go and sell ice cream, 3 guys called that lady in a gang rape. They raped the lady till she collapsed, and they accidentally carry her, go and throw her in a bush with life, in which he didn't. In fact, the lady did not die instantly, but after they realized that the situation was so critical, they carried her, dumped her in a bush, and accidentally the girl lost her life. And before we had access to that information, her body was even in the process of decaying. And just last 2 days too, a certain girl, she is about 16 years, and according to the eyewitness, that lady was going to dump refuse somewhere. So a certain guy who is about 35 years old called her inside her room, kidnapped her for 2 good days. And according to eyewitness, the girl was raped for that particular 3 days with no food. And when the guy realized that the situation was getting worse, he tried to kill the girl. So accidentally, he took a mosquito net, tied the neck of the lady, hung it in his own room, the scene in his own room, pushed the chair in a way of forcing her to commit suicide. So in the process, the lady fell down, and out of the noise which came out, people came to rescue the boy, in which the girl, in which the suspect has taken to his cell now. This occurred just last 2 days.
So we'll be having a conversation with executive director of the ACT Foundation, Angela Jamna Boaje. But it says he catalogs a number of rape and defilement cases that have happened within this particular constituency that we're talking about. Some may perhaps be beyond the jurisdiction. Let's hear from one of the stories that he alluded to. He says the girl is 16, but the actual age of the girl is 18, and the teacher is 32. Here is an interview with that girl who was raped.
Me bacha Friday nyumreno ena she Ebenezer ekasa menkota adembreno osma me se menkota adembreno ti me kwa akwajiska.
On Friday night, Sir Ebenezer sent me on an errand, and when I got to his house, he forcibly had sex with me after tearing off my clothes.
Na makandi esinatwe no je phone no de bo won say ena meka send ya meka twe me mame se mi.
I wanted to call my mother and report to her, but he broke the phone and threatened to kill me if I told anyone. He said he'd stage a suicide for me and leave a letter to that effect. He then tied a rope around the ceiling fan and hung it on my neck. For a strange reason, he slapped me and I fell. I screamed for help whilst he inserted his fingers and manhood into my private parts, but no one came to my rescue. I have never had sex before. Sir Ebenezer asked me out once, but I declined. And this was about 6 months ago, so I thought he had gotten over it. I hope the law takes its due course with him to serve as a deterrent.
Oneme dai mitenti ma by omo around no omanti nia ona obending so no na waso radio esiso nti wanti eche no keka twa me momi mu se oti se obi su na okeke mbai no nim se omo biye ni binana e.
Joining me on the line, like I said, is the Executive Director of ACT Foundation, Angela Jamna Boaje. Just so you know, we've been making attempts since Friday to speak with the police on this matter. We understand that the Divisional Police Commander was available to speak to us. At the moment, we cannot reach him. Let's speak to Angela. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time here on the show.
Thank you. If you can lift your voice a little.
Right. I'm sure that you've been listening. I mean, you've listened to the 4-year-old, you've listened to this 18-year-old, you've had the journalist who speaks about, actually gives us a catalogue of similar incidences, cases, and how it's been handled in the area. Your initial thoughts would be?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear much of what the girl was saying, or the mother of the person who had been defiled. But if I hear what you're saying, you're asking what are my initial comments about these cases?
Yes, please.
Right. Well, I think it just tells us that we need specialized training for the police. You see, sexual assault is not like just any other crime. It's a very special crime, even among the list of crimes that fall into sexual and gender-based violence crimes. You need specific training for those who investigate it. You need specific training for those who have to handle the victims of such crimes. And it doesn't appear as if our police is really ready to do those kinds of things because they lack the specialized training. We're also mindful of the fact that this is happening in an area that is primarily rural. So, of course, it means that services will be very few and far between. Yeah. And that's possibly the reason why the police are also finding it difficult to do what they're expected to do, because you can't work alone when it comes to sexual assault and sexual and gender-based violence. You have to, of necessity, work with other organizations and agencies, and these are often lacking.
In the case where, according to the mother, a chief in the area has said or told the police that they've consulted some deity and they have told them that this guy who is suspected to have defiled the 4-year-old is innocent, and that the police should let him go. We know the sort of authority that traditional rulers wield in society. So how does this strike you, and how do we deal with this issue?
Well, the first thing is that we are in a republic. Whether we like it or not, the traditional rulers will have their place, but they cannot take the place of the state's institutions, and the law. So I think that's a straightforward matter. It's not something that the police should even entertain. You know, the chiefs can do what it is that the chiefs do, but they cannot order the police to go contrary to the laws and the constitution of the country. So this for me is straightforward. However, because of the dynamics of our social relationship, it means that this girl and possibly her mother need to be withdrawn from that area. And that brings the issue of shelters into question again. Okay, we lack shelters in this country. Right now, the only possible place where they might find shelter is for the gender ministry to move them from Asen Pusu or Asen Adadientem, wherever they are, and bring them into a shelter, because it is likely, I'm not saying that is what will happen, the likelihood that they will attract the displeasure of local people because of what the chief has said or has ordered is very, very strong. Therefore, they will need protection, and that is possible under our Domestic Violence Act and the policy that comes alongside it.
I see. Well, the catalog that the reporter that my colleague spoke to, it's quite interesting. He speaks about one 7-month-old baby who was defiled, a 3-year-old girl who was defiled, a 13-year-old as well, a 14-year-old as well. Some have even died, apparently. Is there any recommendation that as a foundation you would have for authorities there, maybe members of the member of parliament for the area, maybe the municipal assembly executives? Is there anything that they can do? Because it's obviously something that's a trend.
It's becoming endemic in the area, and I'm sure possibly it's in other areas. When people know they can get away with these things, impunity grows. So I'm happy that the media is involved. I remember there was a similar case somewhere. Again, it was picked up by your, station or
I remember
your
that
company.
Very well.
And just because there was that follow-up, the chief was stopped from doing what they said they would do. The woman was taken into protective custody. So many things happened. So I would ask, first of all, that keep your eye on the ball here.
Okay.
And do continue with the reporting and the monitoring, please, until something happens. Otherwise, it will just go down the drain. Secondly, our institutions, no matter the fact that they are resource-strapped, we still have them. That's who we have. That's what we have. There's an MP there. There's a municipal district chief executive there. We have a president who is a rule of law champion, a human rights champion. We have no excuse not to move in with whatever resources that we have to be able to protect not only this little girl, but to ensure that whatever the police needs as a specialized agency, because there will be a doctor somewhere close by there, they need that training to be able to handle sexual assault cases. And I'm saying that that is of the utmost importance. The last recommendation I have is a more general one, but extremely important. You see, ever since the passage of the Domestic Violence Act and a few things that happened subsequently, a lot has gone down in terms of the advocacy, the monitoring, the evaluation of what is going on with the laws and the implementation of the law. Now, this is criminal code, not necessarily domestic violence, but then there is a link in our policy document. So our gender ministry has to wake up to its responsibility. It has to understand that things have happened, but if it takes its eyes off what has happened already, it will be as though nothing ever happened. That's our experience in this country, and things are going to get worse.
Hopefully
the laws are already there. They should ensure that all the institutions that matter are taking up what they need to do so that they can do the best with what they have.
Right. Thank you very much, Angela Jamna Abwaje there, speaking to us. She's the Executive Director of the ACT Foundation. Very insightful recommendations there that she gives. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some more responses. Like I said, we're able to speak to the Member of Parliament for the area, also able to speak to the Divisional Police Commander. We are told that they've taken some action, but we're still yet to know what the details of those actions are.